Haroun Maidawi woke before dawn as he had done every day for the past 30 years. The roosters hadn't even begun their morning calls when his weathered feet touched the cool earthen floor of his farmhouse. He dressed quietly, careful not to wake his wife, Farida, who deserved her rest after helping with yesterday's harvest. The morning air carried the scent of approaching rain as Haroun made his way to the stables. His farm in the fertile valley of Nar al-Zaytuna was modest but prosperous. Generations of Maidawis had worked this land, growing olives and wheat, and raising livestock that was the envy of neighboring villages. But something felt wrong this morning. The usual nickering greeting from Siraj, his prized Arabian stallion, was absent. Haroun quickened his pace, his heart beginning to pound. When he reached the stable, the door hung open, its lock shattered. Inside, empty spaces greeted him where 3 horses should have been. Siraj, his beautiful chestnut Arabian with the white star on his forehead, was gone. So were the 2 younger Mares. Worse still, when Haroun rushed to check the small storage room attached to his house, he discovered the lock had been picked. The chest containing family heirlooms, gold coins passed down through generations, his grandmother's silver necklaces, and Farida's wedding jewelry, was missing. "Thieves!" he shouted, waking the household. His sons, Tariq and Nassim, came running. Their neighbors, the Bashirs and the Kanans, arrived shortly after hearing the commotion. The village elder, Ustad Fakhouri, examined the broken locks and the hoofprints leading away from the farm. "These are professionals," he said gravely. "They knew exactly what they wanted and when to strike." The local constable, Officer Jabali, took notes but offered little hope. Horse thieves are difficult to catch. They're likely halfway to the southern markets by now. Haroun felt the weight of loss settle heavily on his shoulders. Siraj wasn't merely a horse. He was family. The stallion had been born on this farm 16 years ago. Haroun had trained him personally, spent countless hours with him. And the family treasures, irreplaceable connections to their ancestors, were gone. That night, as rain pattered against the windows, Haroun sat by the fire, his face etched with determination. "I will find them," he promised Farida. "Somehow, someday, I will bring Siraj home and recover what's ours." His eldest son, Tariq, joined him. "We should place notices in neighboring towns and alert traders to watch for our horses." "And I'll speak with the traveling merchants," added Nassim. "They hear everything." Haroun nodded, grateful for his son's support but knowing that with each passing hour, the trail grew colder. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. Siraj was special, intelligent and loyal beyond measure. If any horse could find his way home, it would be him. Little did Haroun know that this theft was just the beginning of a story that would become legend in Nar al-Zaytuna, a tale of patience, unexpected allies, and the remarkable bond between a farmer and his horse. A month passed with no word of the stolen horses or family treasures. Haroun refused to surrender hope. Each market day, he traveled to neighboring towns, showing a detailed drawing of Siraj and describing the unique white star on his forehead. He visited horse traders and blacksmiths, believing that sooner or later, the thieves would need to resho the horses. During one such journey to the coastal town of Marjan, Haroun encountered an unusual ally, Zubaydah, an elderly woman known for her uncanny ability to hear whispers on the wind, as locals described it. Some called her a witch. Others believed she possessed the old wisdom. Haroun, desperate for any lead, approached her stall of herbs and remedies. "You seek something precious," Zubaydah said before Haroun could speak. "Not just animals, but memories in metal and stone." Startled by her insight, Haroun explained his situation. Zubaydah closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "Your horse runs with strangers, but his heart pulls north. The treasures lie separated from him, hidden in a place where water meets stone. Look for the sign of the crescent moon." Skeptical but intrigued, Haroun thanked her with a small pouch of olive oil. On his way home, he encountered a traveling tinker named Daud who offered another piece of the puzzle. 3 fine horses passed through Jabia 2 weeks ago, Daud told him. One chestnut stallion with a white mark kept breaking his tether. The men controlling them weren't horsemen by trade. They handled them roughly. The leader had a scar that ran from eye to jaw. This description gave Haroun his first real direction. Jabia lay to the north, contradicting what Officer Jabali had assumed about the thieves heading south. Perhaps Zubaydah's mysterious words held truth after all. At home, Harun spread a map across the table. His sons gathered around as he marked Jabia and the surrounding areas. "The man with the scar is our key," he said. "Someone must know him." "There's an old fortress near Jabia," Tariq pointed out. "It sits where the Naran River cuts through the limestone cliffs. Water meets stone, just as the old woman said." Nassim traced the trading routes with his finger. "If they're moving north, they might be headed for the border markets. They're harder to track there, beyond our constable's jurisdiction." Harun nodded, a plan forming. "I need to visit Jabia. The fortress deserves investigation, and I'll speak with every stable hand and innkeeper in the area." Farida, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. "Take this," she said, handing him a small pouch containing a piece of Siraj's mane she had saved from his grooming brush. "If he's there, he'll remember your scent and this from home." The next day, Harun prepared for a longer journey than his usual market trips. As he packed supplies, Ustad Fakhouri arrived with unexpected news. "A merchant from the eastern provinces passed through yesterday," the elder said. "He mentioned seeing unusual jewelry being offered by a traveling trader, pieces that match your description of Farida's wedding necklace." The trader was headed toward the Crescent Moon caravanserai. Harun felt a surge of hope. The Crescent Moon, another connection to Zubaydah's cryptic words. Perhaps the old woman truly did hear whispers on the wind. "I leave at first light," Harun declared, his resolve strengthened by these new clues. The search for Siraj and the family treasures was no longer a blind quest but a trail with markers to follow. The journey to Jabia took 3 days. Upon arrival, Harun discovered a bustling town where traders from all directions converged. He took a room at the Wayfarers Inn, a modest establishment frequented by merchants and travelers. The innkeeper, a sharp-eyed woman named Rima, seemed to notice everything about her guests. "A scarred man with horses," she repeated when Harun inquired. "Yes, Bassam al-Khoury and his companions stayed here briefly. Unpleasant sort. Treated their animals poorly." She leaned closer. "They mentioned the Crescent Moon caravanserai. It's a day's ride north, at the crossroads near the ancient fortress." That evening in the inn's common room, Harun struck up a conversation with an unlikely pair: Maftuin, a poet with an impressive memory, and Ilyas, a former soldier turned merchant. When Harun shared his story, Maftuin's eyes widened. "I saw these men," the scarred one called Bassam argues loudly. "Hard to forget such a face. They boasted of a profitable venture while drinking heavily." The poet recited their exact words with perfect recall. "The northern merchant will pay double for the Arabian. As for the trinkets, the jeweler in Saifola's bazaar asks no questions." Ilyas nodded grimly. "I know of Bassam al-Khoury. He works for a notorious smuggler named Kazim, the Shadow. They operate from the old fortress, using hidden passages to move contraband across borders." This information was invaluable, but Harun realized he couldn't confront such criminals alone. "I need help," he admitted. "You have it," Ilyas declared, surprising Harun with his readiness. "I've wanted to see Kazim's operation dismantled for years. He's responsible for much suffering in these regions." The next morning, they rode toward the Crescent Moon caravanserai. Along the way, they encountered a shepherd named Tariq tending his flock near the road. When Harun described Siraj, the shepherd's weathered face lit up. "A chestnut Arabian with a white star? Indeed. 3 months ago, that horse escaped his handlers near my pastures. He ran wild for days before they recaptured him. Magnificent creature, too spirited for those rough men." "Did you see where they took him?" Harun asked, heart racing. "To the fortress, where the river cuts through stone. They've turned the ancient passages into stables and storerooms. Few know of the hidden entrance on the eastern cliff face." With Tariq's guidance, they discovered a vantage point overlooking the fortress. Using Ilyas's military spyglass, they observed men moving horses from hidden stables to merchant caravans. Harun's heart nearly stopped when he glimpsed a chestnut coat among them, but it wasn't Siraj. "Patience," counseled Ilias. We need more information before acting. At the Crescent Moon caravanserai, they posed as horse traders. The caravanserai's keeper, Darius, was initially suspicious but warmed to them after Maftuin entertained guests with poetry and stories. Through careful conversations, they learned that Kazım planned to move a special Arabian stallion to a wealthy foreign buyer in 3 days. The northern road is watched by border patrols, Darius mentioned. Kazım's men will use the river gorge passage, dangerous but unguarded. That night, a stable boy named Farid sought them out privately. I overheard you asking about the chestnut Arabian, he whispered. I care for him sometimes. He's unlike any horse I've known, almost as if he understands human speech. The men fear him a little. Is he well? Harun asked anxiously. He refuses to eat sometimes, and fights when they try to saddle him. But he's valuable, so they haven't harmed him seriously. Farid hesitated. There's something else. Whenever there's a storm from the south, he becomes agitated, facing that direction as if listening for something. Harun felt tears sting his eyes. Siraj was remembering home, the direction of Nar al-Zaytuna. The bond remained unbroken. With Farid's help, they formulated a plan. The stable boy would create a distraction the night before the transfer, allowing them access to the hidden stables. But they would need more allies to confront Kazım's entire operation and recover all that was stolen. Ilias smiled confidently. Leave that to me. I still have friends in the border patrol who would welcome the opportunity to raid Kazım's fortress. For the first time in months, Harun felt real hope. Siraj was alive, the treasures were traceable, and justice might yet prevail. Ilias's connections proved invaluable. Captain Nadim of the Border Patrol had been building a case against Kazım's smuggling operation for years but lacked concrete evidence of their routes and methods. The prospect of catching them in the act of moving stolen horses and valuables was precisely the opportunity he needed. We'll position guards at all known exits from the fortress, Captain Nadim explained as they finalized their plan. When your stable boy creates the distraction, my men will move in from multiple directions. The night before the scheduled transfer, storm clouds gathered, an unexpected ally that would mask their movements. As rain began to fall, Harun thought of Siraj, hoping the familiar scent of a southern storm might reawaken the horse's memory of home. Farid created the promised distraction by, accidentally, releasing several horses from the outer paddocks. As Kazım's men scrambled to recapture the animals, Harun, Ilias, and Maftuin slipped into the hidden eastern entrance that Tarık had described. The ancient fortress was a maze of stone corridors and chambers. Following Farid's directions, they made their way to the inner stables where the most valuable horses were kept. The smell of hay and horse filled Harun's nostrils as they crept forward, oil lamps casting long shadows on the walls. And there he was, Siraj, his chestnut coat dulled by months without proper care, but still magnificent. The white star on his forehead seemed to glow in the lamplight. When the stallion caught Harun's scent, his ears pricked forward and he let out a soft nickering sound that brought tears to the farmer's eyes. Easy, my friend, Harun whispered, approaching slowly. He offered the pouch containing Siraj's mane that Farida had given him. The horse stretched his neck, nostrils flaring as he recognized the sense of home. Maftuin kept watch while Ilias examined the other stalls. Your mares are here too, he whispered excitedly. Thinner but unharmed. The sound of shouting and running feet reached them. Captain Nadim's patrol was making their move. But as Harun prepared to lead Siraj out, the stable door burst open. Bassam al-Khoury stood there, his scarred face twisted with rage. Thief, he spat, drawing a curved dagger. Step away from that horse or die where you stand. That horse is mine, Harun replied steadily. As are the mares and the family treasures you stole 3 months ago. Bassam lunged forward, but Siraj reacted with startling speed. The stallion reared, striking out with his front hooves. The smuggler fell backward, his dagger clattering to the stone floor. Before he could recover, Ilias had subdued him. Captain Nadim's men secured the fortress, capturing most of Kazım's gang, though Kazım himself managed to escape in the confusion. In a hidden chamber, they discovered not only Harun's family treasures but stolen goods from dozens of villages across the region. Your information led to the largest smuggling bust in a decade, Captain Nadim told Haroun as they prepared to leave. The recovered items will be returned to their rightful owners. With his horses and treasures recovered, Haroun began the journey home. The animals were thinner and bore signs of mistreatment, but their spirits remained unbroken. Each night on the trail, Siraj would stand near Haroun's campfire, as if unwilling to let his master out of sight again. News of their approach reached Nar al-Zaytuna before they arrived. As they crested the final hill overlooking the valley, Haroun saw a gathering of villagers waiting to welcome them home. Farida stood at the front, her face shining with joy and relief. When Siraj caught sight of the familiar fields and olive groves, he surged forward with renewed energy, nickering loudly. The stallion's return was more than the recovery of a valuable animal. It was the restoration of balance, the mending of a bond that neither time nor distance could break. 3 years passed, bringing both change and constancy to the Maidawi farm. The olive trees grew taller, the fields yielded abundant harvests, and the family prospered once more. The story of Siraj's return and the dismantling of Kazim's smuggling ring had spread throughout the region, turning Haroun into something of a local legend. Siraj had fully recovered his strength and glossy coat. The white star on his forehead seemed to shine even brighter now, and children from the village would visit just to see the famous horse who had found his way home against all odds. On the 3rd anniversary of Siraj's return, Haroun sat on the porch of his farmhouse, watching the stallion grazing peacefully in the nearby paddock. Farida joined him, placing a cup of mint tea at his side. "A messenger came from Captain Nadim today," she said. "They've finally captured Kazim, the Shadow. He was trying to establish a new operation in the coastal towns." Haroun nodded with satisfaction. The captain had kept in touch over the years, occasionally visiting to share news of their ongoing efforts to eliminate smuggling in the region. "Justice comes to all in time," Haroun replied, sipping his tea. "Though some journeys are longer than others." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of approaching hoofbeats. Tariq rode up, returning from the northern markets where he now regularly represented the family's growing olive oil business. "Father! Mother!" he called excitedly as he dismounted. "You won't believe the news from Jabia. The fortress has been converted into a regional patrol headquarters. And guess who's been appointed as special advisor on horse identification and recovery?" "Ilyas," Haroun guessed with a smile. "Yes. And Maftuin travels with the patrols, using his memory to identify stolen goods and help return them to their owners." The partnerships formed during those fateful days had endured, growing into a network that made the region safer for all honest farmers and merchants. Even young Farid had found his place, now training as a formal stable master under the regional governor's patronage. As the afternoon waned into evening, Haroun walked to the paddock where Siraj grazed. The stallion approached, nuzzling Haroun's shoulder in greeting. Despite offers from wealthy buyers, some offering truly extraordinary sums, Haroun had refused to sell him. Some bonds transcended monetary value. That night, a celebration filled the Maidawi home. Neighbors and friends gathered to commemorate the anniversary of the return. Ustad Fakhouri, now even more stooped with age but still sharp of mind, raised a toast. "To Haroun, who teaches us that persistence finds its reward. To Siraj, whose loyalty guided him home. And to all those who help justice find its way, however long the journey." Later, as the guests departed and the household settled into night's quiet embrace, Haroun made his customary evening visit to the stables. The family treasures were safely stored once more, but the greatest treasure stood before him, warm breath misting in the cool night air. "We are home, old friend," Haroun whispered to Siraj, stroking the white star that had become a symbol of hope throughout Nar al-Zaytuna. "And some journeys, no matter how difficult, are worth every step." The stallion nickered softly in response, as if agreeing that after all they had experienced, the circle was complete. The stolen horse had returned, justice had been served, and the Maidawi farm would continue to thrive, a testament to patience, loyalty, and the unbreakable bonds between those who belonged together. In the years that followed, Mahrez sired by Siraj became known throughout the region for their intelligence and loyalty. While the story of the stolen horse that returned home was told and retold around evening fires, its legacy lived on in every foal that carried the distinctive white star, a permanent reminder that what is truly valuable always finds its way home.